Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Aruj. I'm a motorcycle rider based in India. I have been living abroad for a decade and a half, predominantly spending most of my time in the US and Australia. My love and passion for biking started very early in my childhood. I was always fascinated by motorcycles. But then the interest fell off later on. I followed that interest in the teenage years, but after that, the work and other societal pressures took over and I had to let go of biking. My second innings with riding started in 2018, and since then I've gone through few brands of bikes, but this is the one that is very close to my heart, and this is the one where my search ended back in 2019. I've completed an year with this bike on June 11th. I've also shared another video celebrating and sharing memories of that. But I had a lot of people commenting and asking me to do a review, an ownership review of this bike. Well, as a surprise to many, this is one of the hottest selling retro classic bike in the world, and they're selling by large numbers. But still, when you go to YouTube or you go to Google, there's not much information out there. And I think one reason could be these bikes are so much fun to ride on that probably people are just riding on it. They just don't have enough time to sit, make a video or write content about it. So as a lot of people have been asking me to write and talk something about it, I thought it was time I do a 12-month ownership review of this bike. In my 12 months with this bike, I've ridden it 13,500 kilometers, and 12,250 of that came in just 6.5 months. So that tells you that this is one of those bikes that just wants you to sit on it and ride it hard. There are two big rides I covered on this bike, a 5,000 kilometer ride and a 2,300 kilometer ride. Rest have all been, ranging from 100 to 500 kilometers rides. Now, I was thinking to do a 12-month ownership review covering 4 key sections: the buying experience, the after sales and service, as well as some costs that I can share with you, accessories, and the pros and cons that comes with ownership of any machine. Let me start with the sales experience. Well, Krishna Triumph Chandigarh in India is where I bought this bike from. They have always been and still super helpful. They were awesome at selling this bike, not at all pushy. I took my sweet time when I was researching about this bike. The after sales service have been awesome as well, no issues at all. I mean, we have a WhatsApp group. There's any small issue with the bike, we can just get it sorted just over a phone call or just a couple of message exchanges. Now, out of showroom, this bike is ready to roar. It comes with heated grips, 2 riding modes, ABS, traction control, ride-by-wire throttle, slip assist clutch, and pretty much everything that you would expect from a modern bike, So don't be fooled by its retro design. It is a very modern bike internally and mechanically. Now, when I was planning to get accessories for this bike, I really wanted to get a right balance of aesthetics, not ruining the classic design lines, as well as functionality. So I've got the upgraded Vans & Hines P shooters, because anything else and you destroy the look of the bike. Now, stock exhaust on this bike is amazing and it's adequate. You really don't need, it's got great sound, the growl you would expect from a 270-degree crank order parallel twin. But I just wanted a little bit richer bass, and that's where the Vans & Hines comes in. Now, some accessories that I got straight out of showroom were these bar end mirrors, the backrest, rack, the dresser bar you see here, as well as the Sump Guard and the fork protector right in front here, and the LED indicators. I've also added the aux lights. These are Rigid Industries D Series Pro, which I got from the US. Now, lighting wise, this comes with a daylight running lamp, but I have changed the OEM default halogen with a Cyclops HD Ultra 10.0 LED bulb, and that is because I thought that would give me better lighting. It does, but it cannot compete with the aux lights. So now the 3 in combination, I've got enough lights and enough brightness to literally go to pitch dark roads and still be comfortable riding there. One other functional accessory that I got on this bike just before my big 5,000 kilometer ride was cruise control, and I would highly recommend that to anybody who's looking to do long touring on this bike. I think cruise control is one of those things that you don't need it till you have it, but once you have it, you would never go back. Now there are a couple of accessories that you don't see here right now, and you would have seen in other videos. There's a Dart fly screen classic that I have here, and also the Triumph OEM Panniers, and I'll be doing a separate video on them as well. So let's talk about service. Now I've got two services done with this bike. The first one was at 800 kilometers, the first service, and the second one at 10,000 kilometers, the major service. First service at 800 kilometers, I paid around 8,500 rupees, and obviously that included consumables as well as labor. First major service at 10,000 costed me around 15,500, and the chunk of it actually was consumables. I mean, my rear brake pads were gone, then the engine oil, air filter, oil filter, and all that knickknacks. Apart from the services, the only other money that I've spent on this bike in terms of maintenance is ceramic coating, just to do the paint protection, and obviously the regular chain maintenance because it's a chain driven bike. Now with the chain cleaning, I've been using Putoling products because they really give you good mileage. I mean, they run for like 1,000 kilometers, 1,200 kilometers. You don't have to worry about your chain. Now, when it comes to pros and cons, I think I've already spoken at large about the pros. This is the best looking retro bike out there. When I was planning to buy this bike, there was only one other contender, and that was the BMW R9T. But the maintenance cost and the bike not having all the bells and whistles that you would expect from a modern engine was a bit of a letdown for me. So I thought this really was spot on the brief that I created in my mind for my next bike. One other pro that actually becomes a con as well for this bike is its weight. Now this bike is 250 kilos plus weight. That means it's super planted both at legal and non-legal speeds, but that also means that in city traffic it's a bit of a bummer. It's not the most nimble bike out there, especially if you compare to a bike like Speed Twin. This is definitely not on the nimble side. It's more on the tourer and cruising side. Now let's shift to cons now. Well, I personally only have praises for this bike because this is a bike that I connect a lot with and I love it like anything. So there won't be much that I can talk about the negatives, and I know everybody would have very different experience. But for me personally, if there are few things that I would have loved to change from get-go or Triumph to pay a little bit more attention to, the first would be the stock tires. The stock tires, which are Pirelli Phantoms, they are shit. I mean, real shit. And I mean, they lose grip like anything. I know these are road bias tires, but you take any country, you know, take Europe, you take India, you just don't know what to expect on the road, especially country roads. You can have stagnant water, you can have potholes, and these tires, I mean, they follow the tram lines and they just lose the grip, and I mean, they're not the most steady and most gripping tires out there. So that was a bit of a concern, and I know that Triumph is trying to please a mass customer here, not individual needs, but I personally feel that the tires could have been paid a little bit more attention to, especially considering the overall dynamics of the bike. And the second thing would be the suspension. The suspension is not bad by any means. And I think it's a generic case with all the bikes these days. The OEM suspensions are not the best because they are made for a wide range of customers. Stock suspensions are mass produced, you know, they're not individualized or customized as per your weight. So I think the companies can get away with that, but I personally would love to change the stock suspensions to something better like Hagons or Öhlins or YSS. There are a few mods that I planned for this bike and that I'll be doing probably in the next couple of weeks. I've already ordered the new upgraded tires, Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2 in the stock size. Definitely, you know, 10 times better than the stock, and I'll be doing a separate review on them. Now there's a common rant about this bike, and I personally think it's not just this bike, it's all the modern engines out there. Because of all the new environmental regulations, a lot of bikes outputs and performance has been restricted. Bike actually somehow takes away the naked experience of the bike. I've also ordered Muton Customs X pipe, which would be decatting the bike and removing the cat con. A lot of people have complained about having snatchiness at lower RPMs on this bike, and it's not common to this bike, it's common to all high-powered bikes, Street Twin, BMWs, and that's where a magical solution like booster plug comes in handy. Now I have ordered and I got my booster plug just a couple of days ago, and I'll be installing it this week to see how it helps me. I will be doing a separate video on the booster plug as well as my X pipe and the tires in the coming week, so stay tuned for that. Now a lot of people would have question around a fuel efficiency of this bike. Well, first thing, I always had a belief that if you're buying anything big like 1000cc plus and you want power, you want the whole experience, I don't think fuel efficiency is really the top 3 in the pecking order for, you know, your purchase decision. But still, to put it out there, I have never got below 20 kilometers per liter with this bike. Now considering it's a 1200cc engine and with a 14.5 liter tank, it can easily give you closer to 300 kilometers per tank. So that is definitely good for a cruiser. Now pricing wise, as I can only comment about pricing in India, this bike ex-showroom is closer to 10 lakh. And then when you add the RTO and insurance and some accessories, the bare minimums like the Sump Guard and dresser bar and all, you add on, you're looking at around 12.75, 13 lakh. And then on top of that, you know, sky is the limit. You can do anything with this bike. One fact about this bike, this is the most customized bike out there in its segment. This is like a blank canvas and you can customize it the way you want. You can spend a lot of money on it. Now my 12 months ownership with this bike has nothing less than spectacular. As I've already shared 13,500 kilometers, you know, that's a big number that I've done on this bike with very small amount of time that I had available for riding in my work schedule and my travels. So is this the bike for you? Well, that's a question only you can answer. And that's something that I tell everybody, that you are the one who's going to ride, who's going to sit on the saddle and munching miles. You should be the one to make that decision if it connects with the brief that you have in your mind of perfect bike. And just remember, there's nothing perfect in the world. So you do have to compromise for a bit here and there. And there's no do-it-all bike anywhere. I mean, it's a great cruiser. You can cruise on it anywhere. People have done cross-country. But I wouldn't put it in the same category as an adventure tourer. And you can't compare the two. I know a lot of people do. They always ask me, is this better than Tiger? Is it better than, you know, BMW GSs? It's not. They're very different bikes. But this bike is like the closest you can get for do-it-all, because you can actually use it for short sprints, for cafe runs, you know, going 100, 150 kilometers, early morning rides, to covering long distances. This is made for both. Now, this was my first attempt at making a video like this, so please give me constructive feedback and tell me how I can improve, how I can make sure that I'm sharing the things that you guys are interested in. And also let me know in the comment section if there's a particular topic about the bike or about the brand or just normal riding that you want me to cover. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Aruj Singla, my name, or my pseudonym Consultant Biker. Till then, keep riding and stay safe.